with Anthony to their moms need to realize fathers, parents, and do that their sons. And was not the bodies to take that from. That's right. There's something caution in mind. And years. But if you understand it goes to sometimes it's more and more evidence to show that's great things for both. Most crucial in the development just about really growing up feeling good about being boys don't feel good about being on for self-esteem often quite an women. That means through to partners sometimes quite dependent and I think is one of the causes of men's sexual isolation, which leads to high rates of physical illness. I work with some time. If I talk to men who are domestically violent, I'll get almost violent response to them no matter how the relationship is with each other. Often it's one of abusiveness, or even worse, it wasn't around, and when it's not around pain, it tells them that they're worthless. Guys. So guys that have okay relationships with their mothers, they are angry with them for not being there with them. The message we've got to get here is that are really important. Even though boys with mothers only, they should also work with women and boys' lives. Big Baby is a program out of my organization founded by boys and their fathers, based on angels, 16-year-old ever since honest and not brothers heading as well. And nothing changed like that. Give me my sin. It's exactly what what they just just like the face now have been around reward from having friends and growing up a young man. And he's ready to get on until things get bigger and so we can exercise feel like doing something like parenting courses. We go for presentation with the buddies and tell them to fun and so but that really like for you to see
trying to solve problems. In my experience, if a boy said, "Oh, I'm not a boyfriend," and I felt like I'm well, but you don't need to do that. So I need to go, what happened there? How do you feel about that? So they can feel good. Boys need more than anything else. It's just that based on see you and they pray
Find it easy asking